Round 6 recap from the Danish Championship in Svendborg at the nice Hotel Svendborg here in the heart of Svendborg. Nice place. We've been here many times. It was a dramatic round we had in the most important game probably of the tournament. Allan Stig Rasmussen had white against Jesper Thybo, and Jesper Thybo won. So that leads to a new standings where Allan and Thybo are in a joint lead with 5 out of 6. Nice. I won very quickly against Martin Haubro. We're going to see that game. I'm going to tell a little bit about some opening secrets, so you might listen in if you're interested in openings. There are many small interesting nuances. In another game, Nikolaj Borge won against Poul Rewitz with white. I think he was a little bit lucky. He had a bad opening, but Nikolaj is a tricky guy, and Poul Rewitz is having a hard time here. It's tough being the underdog in this kind of company. Mikkel Antonsen lost with white against Boris Chatalbashev, and that was, Mikkel is not having a good tournament either, and it just seems like he suddenly crumbles under the pressure. And in the last game, Jens Ove Fries Nielsen and Lars Schandorff had a draw in another weird opening by Jens Ove that contains a little bit of venom, and Schandorff actually was in some sort of trouble, it seems. Anyway, let's get into the game. I am white against Martin Haubro, and I start with knight f3, the Reti opening. And I played this 3 times in this tournament. Usually I play mostly e4 and d4, but I had prepared some interesting lines, and I have gotten very good positions. d5 is, of course, the main move. I don't know if he was afraid if we go c4, I go e4, and we switch into a Sicilian, could be, and d3. And here black has a lot of options. I think the most common move is c6, and that's the most solid move. Other options are knight c6. That's not a bad move, threatening e5. And on d4 you have bishop f5, and I think black is okay in that system. So this is an easy to remember or learn line, knight c6. Another idea is knight d7. Okay, that looks weird, right? But again, you're threatening e5, and if white goes d4, you go knight b6 and then follow with bishop f5, c6, e6, and you're very solid, and it's hard for white to achieve c4. Black is simply very solid here. Final idea is d6, with the idea to go bishop d6, 7, and e5. And I've been playing this. Usually they play d4, and we will have a fianchetto Grünfeld. But I'd seen Haubro, he won in the first round with the bishop d4 against Poul Rewitz, and knight d7. And I don't know if I can punish this with c4 here. I was not quite sure what's going on, but my system was anyway to play a3, bishop h5, and here I think the main move is to castle, but I was a little worried that maybe e5 is annoying. I don't know, and I wanted to play the position after d4, and d4 looks weird because in general white's idea is to go something like d3 and e4, and here d4 it looks strange. But the thing is, I'm playing d4 in order to play c4 and e4, and I have lured this bishop here, this guy here, away from the queen side. So this guy here, when he can become very strong at some point. Also, another problem with having the bishop here is sometimes white will be able to do something like this and trap the bishop. This happens in a lot of lines. So I think this new idea is a bit interesting, and black should definitely look into this if you want to play this opening. Castle, bishop d6, and here the main move is knight f6, c4, c6, and I take and knight e5, and that's very interesting position. White will follow up often with f4 and have I like white's position anyway. Bishop d6 is maybe not the best move. because it's a bit clumsy, and it's you white black is trying to keep the knight out of e5, but there is other problems, especially when a knight comes to one of these squares here. So c4, c6, knight c3, and white. By the way, I'm always worried that maybe he can take and keep the pawn, but that's never ever a real option, and he will just get too weak on the white squares if he take on c6. Black's main idea is to keep this structure intact, just sit there like, and nothing bad should happen to me. Knight f6, and I had looked at this position before the game. There were some blitz games with among other Rasmus Svane, who also plays in Hamburg, and here black should definitely play queen b6. This is, I think, almost the only move. I'll go c5. I think take bishop c7, b4. The idea is, of course, b5, and for instance, if black goes a6 after b4, then I can go b5 anyway. This is a very important thing to remember. And then after that comes the next pawn when we exchange something, and black will be settled with a horrible queen side that is structurally more or less lost. So this is something definitely to avoid for black. So instead of this, he has to go knight e4, and I had planned to play something like this, and I think white is better here for sure. But this is playable for black, absolutely playable for black. He played queen c7 and covering everything. And here, of course, c5 and bishop f4 is tempting, but there is a much stronger move. And I gave you a clue in the beginning. What was the idea behind h3 and bishop h5 and d4 and c4? Was to open up the game for Mr. Perfect down here. So boom. And the next move is e4, and this is horrible for black. I think he should probably castle here and then just accept that he's clearly worse. That he will be pushed back, he will have to give up the bishop pair, and he will just be sitting there, and it will be at least plus one pawn for white as an advantage in a computer term, but it is not losing, because after this move here I could get the position with c5, take the loop, and bishop c7 and b4 with a tempo more actually, but I couldn't see what he should do against e4. He's just getting blasted. The bishop is now totally in the game here. There's of course a threat e5, and then there's also serious trouble on this square. I don't know what he can play here. All my pieces are coming out, and they're coming out fast. He took on d4. I had not even really calculated this move. I just said, okay, I can take on b7, I can take on d5. It must all be good. There's no counter uptake. Something like this just never, ever works in these kind of positions. So e4, take, c takes, e takes, and I just took on b7, and I'm a poor. Well, at the moment we are equal in material, but I'll be a pawn up in short while, and his position is completely uncoordinated. This bishop out here is not doing anything, and it's a tactical weakness. He castled. I took on c6, threatening the bishop, and he can't move. Then I can just probably take the other one or play, I don't know, knight b3 or whatever. So he took here, I took here, threatening this one again, and opening up for this guy as well. Bishop e5, bishop e3, and here I expected something like queen b4, knight takes, queen c5, and I think I win the exchange. That was my calculation. I can show you here something like this. Queen c5, hitting here. Oops, sorry. Let's just go back. Hitting here, hitting here, and hitting here. So that's a lot of hitting, and wins material. So you went to queen d3, and here I saw a little trap. basically I can play anything. I think Queen A4 is a natural move. D4 is probably not also good with the idea of Rook D1. I just played Rook FC1, carrying a little threat. I was thinking he had to go Rook AC8, and then after Queen A4, I'm threatening what will happen next, and this pawn, so I win this pawn as well. And you can see that black has no counterplay. Everything is defended and coordinated, and his pieces are scattered all over the board. So it's totally lost. He played Rook AB8, trying to threaten something, and then after Bishop F1, he resigned. The queen is simply trapped. There is no square for it, and he's losing at least the exchange here. So that was rather nice to win in this fashion, and now it's exciting because I'm only half a point behind Allan Stig Rasmussen and Jesper Thybo. I don't have the best program, I must admit. In 1.5 hours, I'm playing Thybo with black, and Thybo has looked very, very strong here. And he is up and coming world-class player. I think he will be 2650 in a year, and might develop into 27 if he stops losing ridiculous games. And I also have black against Allan, who has also looked quite strong here, even though he lost yesterday. By the way, when I'm getting ready for a game, I do two things. Besides making videos and preparing with ChessBase and database and so on, I read a little bit in a book here, The War of Art, which is about how to overcome resistance, because I have resistance against sitting down at the table. That's a problem for me. And another thing I do, besides drinking a lot of coffee, is I meditate for 10 minutes with the app Calm on some focus exercises, and that's pretty nice actually to do that. Anyway, this was DM Talks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.